Hey guys, and welcome to the Lower Chesapeake Bay Fishing Report, the first podcast to bring you the local offshore, nearshore, and inshore fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. We got a great fishing report lined up for you guys this week, but first let's hear who's making the show possible. Sam Rust Seafood, your locally trusted source for premium wholesale seafood. Servicing customers from Hampton Roads down through the Outer Banks, Richmond, and surrounding areas, including Fredericksburg, Charlottesville, and Lynchburg, for over 80 years. Committed to the highest standards in the industry, Sam Rust distributes the best of the ocean directly to your restaurant, hotel, or grocery store on time and at a great price. Visit samrust.com to discover how quality, tradition, and sustainability come together. So don't cuss, call Sam Rust. Listen up, folks. AFTCO has a new promotion for all Great Days Outdoors Podcast Network listeners. They're now offering a camo sunglasses cleaner cloth with any purchase of AFTCO products. I especially enjoy their hooded sun protection shirts, as well as their Seiko fluorocarbon. All you got to do to get your coupon code is text LCBFR to 779-345-2918. Again, just text the letters LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get subscribed to our email list, and we'll send you the promo code via email. All right, y'all. Well, welcome to this week's episode of the Lower Chesapeake Bay Fishing Report. I'm your host, Luke Barton, and I'm glad to have y'all with us for this week's show, which is brought to us by the Great Days Outdoors Podcast Network and our sponsors. Each week, we'll be talking with expert charter guides about what they're seeing and catching right here in our local waters. We also promote the use of sustainable fishing practices so we can keep this amazing fishery healthy and thriving for future generations. With that said, let's jump on in and see what's been biting the hook this week. All right, guys. Well, I'm excited to kick the show off this week, talking to a friend of the show, Captain Russ Castinas with Top Notch Sport Fishing. Looks like they have been on some fish. Captain Russ, welcome back to the show, man. How you doing?
Very well, very well. Yeah, we had very good days on Saturday and Sunday. Great fishing.
I'm seeing some pictures here, and it looks like you guys really got out there and got it done. So for those that are tuning in, maybe just hearing your voice for the first time or hearing the words top notch for the first time, just real quick overview of the boat that you guys run and your specialties.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Well, we do some inshore fishing too, but the boat's designed and we built it specifically to go offshore. So when we're not going offshore, we can go inshore and target some inshore species, but mostly it's offshore. If we have charters to go out there. And so it's a 58-foot custom-built sport fishing boat. She drives great. She's very comfortable. She's got mezzanine seating. So you're basically sitting on couches in the shade in a big cockpit, while you're waiting for that marlin or tuna or dolphin to hop on your line. So it's very, very comfortable boat. This is our sixth one that we've designed and built. And we did a lot of the building myself. And so we kind of get the end results that we want. So very, very comfortable boat.
Awesome. I mean, I'm looking at pictures of it. I mean, that's a dream to go fishing on something like that and have all the accoutrements and comforts of home while sitting back and waiting for a bite to happen. But I'm looking at some pictures here. I see a big old fish with a stick on its face coming out of the water. I see some big smiles on some charter captain or charter guests' faces. Man, talk me through these trips. What did you guys see and how did you get a hold of those things?
Yeah, the first day we had a group that I've known the guy for many, many years. And he brings his grandson. And his grandson brought a friend, and then his grandson's mother. So, which I guess is the person that I know real well. It's his daughter. So, four of them. And we left Saturday morning, went out there, and he really wanted to catch some dolphin. He had brought his own rod. He wanted to rig up some dolphins. So, we went to a couple of places that I know that there might be holding some dolphin, and that was it. They were, and it was great. So, we fished for about 2.5 hours, and caught our limit of dolphin. Trolling the way we do it, we slow troll with cut bait on a light rod. And so when the dolphin come on there, if you get more than one, if you're ever doing that and you get more than one, like one time in the middle of nowhere, there was not near a structure at all, more than one dolphin come up, one or two or three are following your bait. So we have other rods that are set up with cut bait. So if you're bringing a dolphin up and it has more than one, then we quickly leave that one in the water and throw another one there. And I'm bumping the boat in and out of gear. So you're moving a little bit so you can let your line back out. And we probably caught about 20 in the middle of nowhere where we just holding on to one and feeding it back there because you're feeding it back there and they're hovering about 20 or 30 feet behind the boat. And then you catch one and then you bring the one that's close to the boat in and you leave that one out there. And so we had two 12-year-olds that had a ball for about 2.5 hours.
That's awesome.
Then I really wanted to go marlin fishing after that. We probably had a dolphin or two that we still could have caught, I think, a couple more. But, you might catch some of those bigger ones trolling. And we had a couple nice gaffer ones, too, in there in that mix. So then we picked up and ran due east from there. So I ended up landing around the 180, which is not a that long number. We use TDs. So it's the 180 line in about 50 fathoms because they were catching some fish. Not a lot, but they had a couple bites below us, which is further south at around about 50 fathoms. And so as soon as I started fishing, I heard of a boat or two that caught a couple to the north. So I started trolling towards 300 line. There was a boat up there that caught a couple fish. And we finally got up there. By then there were 7 or 8 boats in there that some boats were seeing them now and then. It wasn't really hot and heavy. So I just kept on going north. And we went a little bit deeper, 58 fathoms, and we got hit by 3 sailfish. And it's pretty cool to have the mate had one hooked up, and then another one came on there. So he's holding on to one, and then he's feeding it with another hand. So he's got a rod in both hands.
Wow. Passed
off the one rod. Again, when we had 12-year-olds, he was getting in the chair and got the 12-year-old into the chair and then caught that sailfish. The other one did not stay on, didn't stay glued. And there was a third one that was just hitting my teether. But we decided we better just get the one we had hooked up. So we got the sailfish, which was great, on a 12-year-old, and started fishing again, making lots of circles around there. And then I ended up getting a white marlin bite came in. And so we had the white marlin. He was jumping back there for a while, but the white marlin did get off. And so that was a shame. So then we kept on making circles. And about 15 or 20 minutes later, a blue marlin jumped on. And thank goodness he jumped on my 50 wide. We set up our 50 wides with 80-pound line and a lot of backing. So it's set up more like an 80, but it's a little bit easier to feed. So when a fish comes after it, you can feed it, as opposed to an 80 is a lot bigger in your hands. If you've had to feed an 80, it's sometimes really big. But anyway, we fed it. My mate fed it off the when it came up and hit it, and locked it up, and it jumped. And I thought it was about 250 pounds. So really pretty far out by then. Thought it was about 250 pounds. Got everything in. Started backing up. Jumped a few more times, and then it sounded. And so that 12-year-old did a great job. We fought that fish for an hour and 15 minutes, going backwards. It drug me about 2.5 miles east. And then we finally got it close to the boat where the mate could grab the leader. And he grabbed the leader, and then the fish went bazonkers, and we realized that it wasn't 200 pounds. It was about 400 pounds, maybe 450. And it was going bonkers. So I'm moving the boat so we don't try to keep it on the leader and jumping like that, so that they can get some great videos. And they got some great videos and some great shots. Everybody just got to see the fish really up to close and personal, which was great. And then it broke the leader. So we use 200-pound leader on that, but still it holding on to it because we were trying to pull it closer to the boat for them to see, and it broke. But the 12-year-old did a great job, and we got it closer to the boat. We were just trying to get it closer for him to see. We try to to get them right beside the boat so they can get a picture with them and the fish.
Right.
But that didn't work. That 400-pounder was not in any mood to get close to the boat.
The sheer size of an animal like that, and they're obviously just like majestic and beautiful looking with the way that they're structured and built and their colors and their lines. But to have an animal that size next to the boat, next to a 12-year-old, 200-pound line snapping. That is some force to snap a line like that.
Right. Well, he was holding on to it, and the fish was jumping a lot, and it could have worn on his mouth some and stuff too. And we don't pull that much drag. We probably had 13, 14 pounds of drag during the fight, so it wasn't an enormous amount of drag. But at the same time, I had a 12-year-old, so I didn't want him to pull him out of the chair either.
Right. Yeah.
As I said, he did a really good job with that fish. And naturally we're going backwards when we can, but if they sound on you and go down, not a whole lot you can do. You can try to pump them up, but like you said, they're a big fish. The fish was all still lit up. So he wasn't tired at all after an hour and 15 minutes, which we thought was a long fight until the next day.
Uh-oh.
The next day, I had a group that of friends that have been hanging out together for 20 years, and they did a 20-year reunion. A couple Navy people, a couple Navy SEALs. One guy had one of his, an artificial leg, but he was great to get around fine. And so they had a reunion, and we went out there and went trolling, caught a couple dolphin. We did catch a white marlin, which was great for one of the guys that caught a white marlin. And then I went further east, still around the 350. The day before, they found some weeds around the 790, which is pretty deep, like 800 fathoms, and did not see that weed line or anything out there, and turned back around and was coming in. I was about at 815, which is about 200 fathoms right there. And all of a sudden, the same bait on a big bait crashed and started going. My mate fed him and locked him up, and he pulled off. And we're like, oh, man, he pulled off. And then so I'm looking where he is, and all of a sudden, a big hole on my long rigger. But that was a dink bait. So now that's 30-pound test line and a 60-pound leader. And next thing you know, we're fighting that fish for 3 hours and 20 minutes. We got him to the boat finally right under 3 hours. Mm-hmm. And then we played with him for 20 minutes, 3 different times, getting him to the leader, trying to see if we could get him to jump, because he never jumped. We could see him down deep. Now, that fish was about 700 pounds. Oh. So that fish just dwarfed the one the day before, but we still wanted to try to get him to jump. So my mate was shaking the line. He was hitting it with his hand, just trying to do anything he could to irritate the fish to jump. And that fish was still lit up, plenty of juice still left. Mm-hmm. And I had both engines in reverse, giving it some gas, and my mate had the leader, and I wasn't gaining on it. And the fish was just kind of paddling his big old tail, down deep. He did not want to get close to the boat. Your leader, counting your snap on, which is about 7 feet, and then you're only with IGFA, you're only about 20 feet of leader to the double line. So, it was within about 30 feet of the boat, but it's such a big fish that we really wanted to get a good jump out of him. But out of 3 hours and 20 minutes, that one finally broke off on the main line, the 30-pound line, because once we got the release and having a hard time trying to get into the boat, we put the drag all the way up to full on 30-pound line, trying to get this fish. Some of the other people wanted to catch a fish. We spent half the day in reverse.
That's crazy.
That fish drug me 5.5 miles backwards to the east. And so I was, needless to say, my wrists and arms, and you're going backwards and you reverse and pivoting the boat, because you want to try to keep that line straight back when you got a diesel boat. An outboard, maybe you're worried about lines cutting, but for our boat, I try to keep it positioned so if he takes off to one side, he's not going to get underneath my boat, so to speak. And we really wanted him to stay up and jump. I mean, that's why somebody would say, why does it take so long to get that fish? Well, both of these fish did not jump much. Mm-hmm. And so I've had really big marlin jump, and then they stay up top so I can back up on them, mm-hmm. and they wear themselves out. But if they don't wear themselves out, if that fish wanted to go, eat both days, that fish wanted to go, those fish went.
Man, I just
poor
can't
guy
picture.
In the chair was like, he's going out again. We're like, what do you want me to do about it? He's going out.
That's why I love, like, you're at such the mercy of the fish with a 30-pound main line and 60-pound leader against 10x the weight, on that line. I mean, that's just.
Oh, absolutely.
I can only imagine you had to have been, as a captain in that moment, and then communication with your mate. I mean, you must have felt like you were on a knife edge in terms of like the balancing act of keeping enough pressure to keep a good hook set, but then also not to potentially break that fish off. I mean, how difficult was that?
Very, very difficult. We preset our drags every morning, and for the light ones like that, we're using about 6 to 7 pounds of drag because you're using a circle hook.
Right.
You want them to swallow it and then come back out. And those hooks are not that strong. In fact, earlier on one of our trips, the fish was running on the white marlin, and somebody decided, hey, I don't want this line to go out anymore, and sticks their thumb on there. I'm going to thumb it. Well, when you do that, you put an extra pressure. Fish jumped up, and then the hook bends or gets off. So yeah, you can't really use a lot of drag when we're going for white marlin on what we call dink baits, which we use 60-pound fluorocarbon I think it's an 8/0 equal claw circle hook. And you're feeding it to him, and you want that light line so he doesn't know he's swallowing that bait. So therefore, when you set the hook, on these, you do not, on a circle hook, you do not pull back like a J hook.
Right.
You let it, and you ease the drag up, and then you point the rod tip at the fish or wherever you think the fish is by that point, and you have it close to the water. So you don't have it up even high in the air. You want that down close to the water so it comes up through his belly and it'll get in the corner of his mouth. And so, I've seen people pull back, and initially my guy on Sunday was like, he's trying to pump the fish. I'm like, you only have 7 pounds of drag. You're not pumping that fish up.
Right.
You're not pumping that fish up. That ain't going to work.
Yeah. Well, Navy SEALs are strong. They're used to, just being able to, pull and things move. So I totally get, that. But
it didn't work. We have lots of backing because that fish got back to my white backing. We have 400 pounds of backing on those dink baits and 300 what we call top shot. So I've got 700 yards on there, and we have to put a lot of line because sometimes you might get 2 or 3 fish, and they might go different directions, and you can't back on 3 fish in 3 different directions. So you want to have as much line as possible.
Right.
And so, but that blue marlin was back to the backing before we even get all of our stuff in. And so they were freaking out. It's a white line. No. We got 400 yards. Just take your time. We'll get back.
Right. 4 football fields is a long way to swim.
It's a long way to go, but unfortunately, when we got back to him and got within 100 yards, then he was down deep enough to where I couldn't back anymore. So most of that fight was between 100 to 150, and as close as 50 on that real big fish. We got it to the leader close. I was within 10 feet, and I could see the double line. So I pivoted the boat and just went hard back trying to get it, and must have spooked the fish. He just took off. So, it was really not depressing, but after an hour, we finally got we got to see the double line. We went back hard, but we couldn't get it. And then about another hour later, I got it within about 7 feet, but it was straight up and down. So my mate could see the fish down there, but we couldn't get it up 7 feet to touch the double line.
Right.
Then you got a chance to see, oh my gosh, we're fighting a sea monster. And we certainly didn't want to break them off, and you can't touch the line. You got to get the leader. And we were about 7 feet. I could see it. We just couldn't get it. And then he took off. And then it was almost another hour. It was right under 3 hours when we finally got the leader. And like I said, we played another 20 minutes trying to get this thing to jump and trying to get as close as we could for it so these guys could see how big it was. And you could see how big it was, but you couldn't get like the day before when that thing jumped. It was like, everybody was screaming and hollering, and you could see how big the fish was. And and I had to tell a guy on Saturday, I said, yeah, that fish is bigger than the 2 12-year-olds you and your daughter all put together aren't 400 pounds.
Right.
And he's like, oh, that's a good point.
The imagery of, all 7 feet to the leader and then it taking off and then hours before you get that leader again. That's got to feel like you almost finish running a marathon and they're like, oh, no, you got to go back to the starting.
Yeah, we have about a foot of double line, and then you have a 20-foot leader and then a 7-foot thing. So you're about 28 feet from it when a mate grabs the leader the first time. So you get to see it a little bit, but you really want to get it closer, and everybody's at all on this fish. And then it just goes out when it wants to go out. Like I said, my mate, grabbed onto the leader and tried to pull it, which isn't going to happen. So I'm trying to back up to it. And as I said, I'm probably going 7 or 8, 9 knots backwards, and just to keep up with him. Now I'm not gaining on him.
Right.
And my mate said he's not even trying. The marlin's not even trying yet, because the day before on that 400 pounder, when he grabbed the leader, the second time we grabbed that leader, and he started going off to the side, and I positioned a boat, and I'm going fast again. That's the time he broke. That fish was jumping, and you could see that fish was just, had a lot of power, and just, that's why he broke the line. So, oh yeah, they're lit up with that beautiful color, that golden color with the stripes, and just beautiful fish. So I think I sent you a picture of that one. I think I did. So
yeah, you did, and it's just an amazing creature to see like that. And You mentioned when we were, speaking before hitting record about, the upcoming, the rest of September and into October, it's looking like this is going to be the time to go out and chase a billfish. So folks that are considering a trip that maybe are on the fence, tell us a little bit about why this time of year. What is it that's unique about this time of year that makes it a much higher prospect of getting to come tight on one of these fish?
Oh, absolutely. Because these fish have now swum basically from the deep, swum in. So there's fish scattered all the way in shallow. I mean, a friend of mine on Saturday caught one in 30 fathoms at 6 feet to a fathom, so only 180 feet.
Wow.
And then there were some other people that caught one in 700 fathoms. So there's a lot of fish around.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not, I wouldn't say they're not, punched together a lot. When I say that, you might catch 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
But what's going to happen now in September, which is what's happening right now, if people are outside, they feel like, oh my gosh, it feels like winter's coming and it's northeast winds blowing. And what happens is those fish know that it's getting a little bit colder, and now they're schooling up more. And now the fish that are up north, which they've had a great bite way up north from us, those fish should be moving down here. So I'm excited the next time you get a chance to go. I mean, we're having 3, 4, 5 days of northeast wind. It should be great fishing when you can get out. And then another storm or northeast might come. And for me, usually it's about the 3rd week in September is the height of it. And then after that, you still might get some marlin. I've caught marlin even in October. It just depends on how cold the water gets, how soon, and then how many northeast storms we have. The problem is one of these storms in the next couple of weeks will push all the fish out, which the same thing happens to cobia.
Mm-hmm.
You told me an inshore earlier too. Cobia fishing, is great right now because they're all coming together in pods of, 10, 12 or more, and they're grouping up, and then they're going to come out of the bay and they're going to start going south. And so, but one of these storms, it's going to be like, hey, where'd the cobia go? It's like
yeah.
we couldn't get out to get them, and they kind of swam by us, so to speak. So it happens, unfortunately, this time of year, but it's a great time of year to fish. I mean, September, October, even into the November, I've caught wahoo if you can find a day to get out. And the water's still here, and it should be. It's just hard to find a big weather window, especially if you don't have a big boat. I mean, I got a big boat, so I can, try to go on days that maybe a 23-footer shouldn't go on. Although I will tell you that there's a lot of people in 20 to 23-foot boats, and I was one of them when I was young. It's just kind of, they go out there anyway, and you're like, oh my gosh, you're 23 feet and you're way out here. So
yeah,
the boats can handle it. As long as you have the safety equipment and all that stuff, the boats can handle it. It's the people that might not be able to handle it.
I was going to say, you got to be ready for a wrestling match if you're going to go offshore on a 23-foot boat, because you're going to get put through the ringer. But
that's right.
Well, Captain Russ, if folks that are listening that have either been chasing a billfish before or have never chased a billfish, and they want to do it, in style with somebody experienced like yourself, do you have availability coming up here in September and early October?
Absolutely. I don't on weekend days, unfortunately, and I've got a couple days booked through the week, but I got plenty of days that are open in the middle of the week. And if somebody's flexible, like they're local, we certainly like to go on pretty days. We are not the type of boat, even though I'm big enough, I'm not the kind of boat that wants to go out there and fish in a 6 to 8 foot sea and hold on for dear life. That's not my cup of tea. That's not what I like to do. I mean, I want people to have a good time and a fun time. And so, we're not going to go out there if it's really, really rough. And I tell people that right up front, because some people don't care and they want to go. Well, sorry. I mean, usually if it's small craft warnings, I consider myself, and so does the Coast Guard, I'm a small craft, and I don't go when it's small craft warnings. Yeah, I think it's under 65 or 95 feet or something. I mean,
65.
Either way, I consider it a small craft, so I'm not going to go out there if it's really bad weather. And the other thing I'd share with people is that it's top-notch charters. You can go to my website, reach me, or 757-681-8068. But I don't have a problem if somebody reaches out to me online or whatever and has questions about marlin fishing too. I've talked at many of the anglers clubs, and the older when I was young, other captains helped me and were very, very information unload. I've always asking a lot of questions. You're never too old to learn, and things change. And the way we're fishing now is not the same way I fished when I was in my 20s. We use big internationals for marlin fishing. And I remember one day we went 2 for 22. 22 marlin, I caught 2. Not fun. Nowadays, with this light tackle that we're using, the way we're doing it, our ratios are much better. I mean, the other day I did miss a white marlin and we did miss a sailfish, but we caught a sail and caught a white. So we're 2 for 4 or 2 for 3, and then we had that blue marlin. So you basically 3 for 4. So
yeah,
we have much better hookup ratios. And the last thing, I know I hate to keep making you go too long, but this is the best time to get a grand slam. We got a lot of sailfish in our area. It's very rare to catch a sailfish, a white marlin, and a blue marlin all in the same day.
That would be incredible.
That's the thing that was killing me. Well, it was killing me on Saturday because we had a white marlin and he jumped off and on a 12-year-old. So 12-year-olds caught the sail and another 12-year-old caught the blue. And one of the other 12, there's only 2 12-year-olds. He would have caught a white marlin also. We would have had a grand slam with 12-year-olds, which would have been great.
Oh.
But it's a fun time to go because you can go a long time. In fact, we did on Saturday after we were fishing, for about 2.5 hours catching nonstop dolphin. And then we fished about 2.5 hours, maybe 3, and not a bite. And the guy that booked the trip came on the bridge and said, "Hey, can we go back to those buoys?" And I said, "Well, not really, because, other boats are going to hit them, and we got a lot of them, and I'm also probably about 12 miles from the buoys." I said, "Just hold on. We're going to get a shot of the marlin here. Just hold on. We're going to, but it's hard when you like activity for younger kids. And all of a sudden, here comes these sailfish. And then, he later told me, "Man, you were really right. What a busy afternoon." The cool thing is it could be a lot of boring time looking, and then all of a sudden it's chaos. It goes from boredom to chaos in seconds, which is why it's so much fun.
Yeah, what you just described is got to be one of the biggest challenges I think that you and all the other captains share, which is kind of the burden of producing a bite and producing excitement, because you go out there with, you've got the confidence, you've got the experience, you know how to do the things to create the environment for it to happen, but ultimately you cannot force it or make it to happen. So that's like, I always picture like, man, that's got to be some unique sort of stress to be like, like whenever I've taken people, cobia fishing, just for fun, friends, family, or coworkers, I tell them right out of the gate, I'm like, "Hey, look, I'm going to go where I think the fish are going to be. If we see a fish, I'm going to throw a bait to it. But at the end of the day, there's a high likelihood we might catch nothing, So like I try to set the bar really low, just that way in case, nothing really exciting happens, because it can be tough 2-3 hours.
Absolutely, it happens. I will tell you that I lose lots of sleep when I knew he was bringing his 2 grandsons and they fished with me before. And I'm like, "Oh man, I'm worried about it for 2 or 3 weeks leading up to it. I'm worried about it because I want to catch him a fish more than he wants to catch a fish."
Right.
And like you said, you have to be ready. And I'm very fortunate that I have a great mate that his attention to detail, and hopefully that's something he picked up from me too. You got to be ready for that fish of a lifetime any minute, because it might not happen, but if you're not ready for it, then it's going to blow up your tackle and you're going to miss the fish. And now and you don't get many bites. Now this time of year, I'm hoping that my best time was, I think, like the September 12th. So that date's coming up. So I'm hoping that then we're getting 20 shots or 25 shots, which, hey, if you miss one, no biggie, here comes another one. But we don't have that right now. There aren't that many bites, but it's exciting when you get those bites. And some boats that's the tough part, like you said, with tournaments. Somebody will catch 8 fish and somebody will be right beside them and catch nothing.
Yeah.
This is not striper fishing when you're going through a school and you see them all up top and the birds going through them and you say, "Okay, I'm going to drive through there and all my stuff's going to come down."
Right. Yeah.
Nope. Doesn't happen like that offshore.
No, it's not scripted as that rockfish might be. But to bring it home, what you're talking about there, it's, now that those 2 12-year-olds experienced the boredom, those 2 or 3 hours, but then got to experience the excitement, It's like
Oh yeah,
now that they have witnessed it, they will be prepared for they'll be more patient in the future and be in anticipation of what's to come. And that's the thing I tell people with cobia fishing too. It's like, yeah, the first time out, those 3 or 4 hours could be brutal, but then once you get to experience the excitement, you are much more prepped to be patient in the future because
right.
you know what's coming and you know it's worth waiting for.
And it can happen at the end of the day. I mean, we were in the Virginia Beach Marlin tournament. It was last year, year before, and 5 minutes before light lines out, and boom, here comes a big old blue marlin. And I think that was a couple years ago. Last year, it was lines out, and I'm reeling my bait in, and a blue marlin hit it. So it didn't count. Now we got to fight the fish, and it was really cool, and everything was great. But I didn't get any points for it, but you just never know when that fish is just going to come out of nowhere and just jump on you. And the same thing when you're tuna fishing in the spring and fall. You go over, you're nothing, and all of a sudden you get 5, 6 tuna on at one time. It goes crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So that happens too. So that's why we go offshore, because I think it's just, you get some big fish. They're going to pull line. I guess that's the only thing I'd share with your listeners is don't panic unless you see gold. And what I mean by that, if you see the spool on your line, now it's time to panic. You need to put the drag up or go faster in reverse or chase him down if you're an outboard or something. But if you don't see spool, you usually have plenty of line on there. Just take your time. Don't panic. And, you can try to, you're going to have to wear the fish down. Don't think you can stop them by sticking your moving the drag up. I had one guy do that one time too, where he moved the drag way up and all of a sudden the line breaks. I'm like, what's going on? Well, our lines don't break. Look down there and he had it on full.
Oh.
Well, there's a reason we have these as a drag.
Mm-hmm.
You've probably seen it with cobia fishing when he's running the other way, or you catch a big drum on light tackle and a guy holds the spool because they don't want it to go out anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that ain't going to work. Yeah. 50-pound drum's going to win.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because I've experienced this recently fishing on someone else's boat. If you've got, let's just call it related fishing experience, but maybe you've never bill fished before and you're going to go on, say, top-notch charters. Position yourself in a second fiddle mindset, meaning trust the captain, respect what is being told to you because they know what they're doing and they do it that way for a reason. If you think you've got a better idea, you probably don't. Just trust the captain and the mate. They know what they're doing, and things will probably work out better in the long run if you do that.
Well, and you're right, and pay attention to what they're doing because techniques and things change. Make sure that you maybe used a J hook, so you want to set the hook. Well, no, we're using circle hooks. That's not going to work. So
right.
If you pay attention and don't say like, "Hey, I know everything," but you know enough. Mm-hmm. We've had some of our best trips have been people that have helped us because when you have 5, 6 baits out and you have 5 or 6 marlin coming at you, guess what? There's only one mate.
Mm-hmm.
So if we had some people with a little bit of experience that we can walk through on some things, then absolutely. On my best day, as I share with you, they were back in those days, they didn't have electric dredges, which is like a whole big school of bait. We can get into that another day. But they were hand cranked. They were cranking those up. Mm-hmm. They were pulling the other lines in. They were getting it ready. We're constantly getting ready for while we're fighting one fish, we're getting ready to start fishing again. So we're pulling down clips. We're getting the baits ready. Was that bait bad? So we're doing other things while we're fighting a fish. So when we catch that fish, I can immediately put it in gear and start fishing again.
Ah, that's awesome.
And so
teamwork.
If you got people that are able to help you, that's why in some of these tournaments, you get people that have been fishing together for 4, 5, 6 years, and they got 4, 5, 6 people on the boat, and they all know what they're doing. And they're why are they catching so many fish? Because they got 6 people. They got 6 mates basically. Mm-hmm. So, and that's a lot of fun. I like to get people involved if they're one willing and two they're willing to listen. And don't bird nest my reel because now I got a problem. The fish jumps on a bird nest and now it's going to break off. So,
right.
But if you do get a bird nest, don't hide it. Tell them. And what I mean by that is one time we did get a guy that bird nested and he yelled, "I got a bird nest." Well, I immediately went faster in reverse so I can crank over that bird nest. So now I know I need to get that fish first because right. Once I get down to the bird nest, it's going to break. So, tell them what's going on. Look, we're not going to, and if I ever screamed at somebody, then I try to apologize afterward. We get excited too. Just remember the captain and mate do it because they love it. They get excited too.
Yeah.
So don't take it personal.
Amen to
Please
that.
don't take it personal.
Amen to that. Well, I want to remind folks of that website. Go look them up, Top Notch Sport Fishing Charters. And one more time for that phone number for folks that want to hop in here in September and early October and try to get on one of these billfish.
Absolutely. It's 757-681-8068. And like I said, even if they have a question about something, they're going in their own boat, just reach out by email or text or phone, and I'll try to answer you best I can. No problem.
Awesome. Well, Captain Russ, we appreciate your report and your generosity too with information and education. So, folks, that's going to wrap up a really cool offshore report. Stick around for a word from our sponsors, and we will be right back. Hilton's Offshore Charts. The days of heading out and blindly looking for good fishing areas are pretty much over. Don't waste time and money on fuel searching for fish. You need the most recent, highest resolution images to not only know where to go, but where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore fishing trip. So make the choice that professional captains all over the East Coast make and choose Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check them out at hiltonsoffshore.com. That's hiltonsoffshore.com. All right, guys. Well, welcome back to the show. Captain Austin Hain with Fineo Sport Fishing. Man, it's been blowing. What you been up to? Welcome back.
It's been windy. It's just started though, So we've had such great weather. I mean, you can't even complain about a couple of days of wind. It's bound to happen, We've had such a solid August of light winds and sunny skies. So a little bit of wind lets me work on the boat and relax. So just been hanging out.
Amen to that. Fortunately, we haven't had any major storms come through either. I mean, this little blow we've got right now is something, but it's certainly not, a tropical system or anything like that.
Yeah, it's typical in September. I mean, we all expect a blow at some point, and it's now. But there's so many fish. I'm not even worried about it.
And for those that are just tuning in that maybe haven't heard you before, real quick, Fineo Sport Fishing, what kind of boat are you guys running and what do y'all specialize in?
We run a 24-foot Pathfinder with a tower and all that good stuff, big casting platform up front. And we just primarily in the summertime do cobia and redfish.
Very cool. And something that we've talked about on recent shows too, when we've had you, folks can charter you. Obviously, you and a mate will go out there and take them around. But on Fineo, there's also the opportunity to try to cast yourself as a charter guest.
Yeah. So that's what I've been really trying to do because the fish has been so great. Is it's one thing to physically crank on the fish. That's a good time. Fighting those big fish is fun, but actually getting the fish to eat, cast and have the full experience of cast, hook the fish, fight them, get them in the net is a totally different, whole situation. And I've been really focusing on that this year with the big casting platform up front, trying to teach and let people experience the whole thing. It's just been a blast this year. A lot of my customers have hooked some massive fish this year, and there's nothing better in the planet than watching that happen. We do it every day, but teaching somebody to do it, it's a whole nother level.
Yeah, and I'm sure they enjoy the experience when they are successful, but for those times where I'm sure they're not successful, they probably grow in appreciation for just how difficult it is to cast and hook up to a cobia.
Oh yeah, but that's the game, that it looks easy on the internet, YouTube, all that looks simple, but once you actually get that rod in your hand, try to hit that single fish moving 10 miles an hour, but when it actually happens, that's the highlight of their trip, regardless if it's 10 pounds or 50 pounds. Screw everything else. That's what they talk about the rest of the trip is making that fish turn and eat.
Yeah, and that's so true about the internet. It's a highlight reel, and we'll get into this later. But sometimes the bad happens to the best of us, and it is what it is. But let's switch gears. So I want to hear a little bit about some recent trips, what you guys have been seeing and catching. Your last 2 or 3 charters, prior to this wind. What did you guys see? What was happening?
It was actually, honestly, probably some of the best fishing I've ever seen. So I've been doing this since 2012, and I've never seen an August this good with, there's a little, I'll bring it up in a minute, but when we've had the south winds, it's been super good. We caught last week in a 3-day stretch, we caught 76 cobias in just 3 days. We were seeing at least 1,000 a day. I mean, big groups of fish. Lots of we had on just one trip alone, we had a 4 over 60 inches. Biggest was 63 inches. So the numbers are there, but this is the weird thing. So we had these 3 days of south, and every day was just, the first day we caught 42, which is just insane numbers. And then, so that 3-day stretch was a south wind. which is honestly my favorite wind around here. A light southwest wind, sunny skies, got 76. The very next day, it switched to east. And with that east wind, that's what I'm learning this year is the east wind just kind of shuts the bay down. Went from seeing thousands of cobia a day with the water temperature being around 77, 78, all the way up to 80 degrees. The very next day I came out, no fear, like, all right, we've been crushing it. Let's go. We come out there, east wind. I get to the same spot I've been fishing. And I'm like, I haven't seen a fish for 20, 30 minutes. What's going on? Temperature dropped to 74, 73 degrees. We still catch them, don't get me wrong, but it's not, it's something with that east wind and these colder water temperatures that come with the east wind, you're picking at them at that point. Still catching them, but nothing like the south wind days. So every time you get a south this past month, it's been some of the best fishing I've ever seen, ever. East wind really drops that water temperature and makes it a lot tougher.
Yeah, it's almost like I've heard some analogies before, like sometimes targeting fish is like building a poker hand where you want to look for a couple of things to line up and get your best, bet. So you're talking about south winds, seeing a lot of fish. I'm kind of picturing in my mind, you got south winds, so the southern side of the bay is a little bit more protected. You've got more of a balance of your incoming and outgoing tides where maybe one isn't, lasting too long because there's so much current being pushed by the wind. Which I'm thinking, so an east wind on an incoming tide is going to protract the incoming, which is going to be that flush of new water from offshore, possibly some cooler water. And then you get a result, which is a lowered sea surface temperature. You mentioned seeing 78, 77 one day and now 75, 74 the next day, and things drop off. That really is kind of starting to make sense in my head as far as like watching those winds, seeing how those tides are moving, and then connecting the dots on like, well, if it's not super warm water on the south side of the bay because we've got gentle south winds, we should probably anticipate a little bit of a change up in terms of the numbers that we're seeing.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, protections and all that. This year is the first year I've ever started to look at sea surface temperatures in August. That's something you should never think about, but we've had some cooler yes too, and the ocean water has been very cold. So a lot of my mornings, I actually just look at sea surface temperatures, and even if it's a weird area, like we've been fishing as close as 0.1 miles off the beach, just because on those east wind days, you have still the warm water along the beaches in there and all the fish to congregate to that area. So I'll go to my normal spots in the morning, and if I'm not seeing what I want to see, I'll be like, hey guys, we're going to go try to find some more water, and look at your sea surface temperatures and go in there, and you're like, what am I doing here? I've never fished here before, but you get 79 degrees. Sure enough, that's where the fish are.
Yeah.
And one other very interesting thing this year is a lot of my diver friends on these colder weather days, we go fishing and it's an east wind and it's colder. And I'm like, hey, Mike host saying the diver, he's like, yo, I'm going to go dive today. And I'm like, I'm not seeing very much out here. So let me know what you see. And they dive down 15 feet, 20 feet. And they're like, oh, all the cobias are down 10, 15 feet down, and they're staying in that warmer water. They'll have, the sea surface is 72, but down 10, 15 feet, 76. And that's where the fish congregate on those east wind days. So very, very interesting this year with that.
Yeah, that is. And Mike Hosang, if he was here, would smack me if I didn't, follow up and say Mike Hosang, the diver of Fishing for Mortgages. Got to keep that brand right. But no, that is so interesting to understand that. And we talk a lot about how like fish are kind of inherently lazy, and they're also like inherently predictable when it comes to the things that they like. So they like an easy opportunity to eat. So they're going to prefer an eddy. They're going to prefer a calm place of water where they can relax. And then they're also going to prefer certain sea surface temperatures in terms of whether they're up or not, which is kind of that like age old mystery of like, why do they swim on the surface and what makes them swim on the surface? Who knows? But that's some interesting stuff to hear about. So you talked about some big number days. Talk me through what you guys did, to capitalize on some of those opportunities where you did see those pods of fish. Because I want to jump into a little bit about what you and I did yesterday. But before we get into that, when you do see a pod of fish, how do you capitalize on that to, get as many hooked up as you possibly can?
All right. Yeah, that's a great question, because most of the time people see a pod and they just worry about hooking one fish, or they just throw in there and whatever. So it is actually a different scenario when you find a pod on how to maximize on that opportunity to hook multiples up. So basically what I do is I throw my live baits first. I always have on my boat when you come with me, I got 3 live bait rods and 1 lure, which is a bucktail. That's my primary rods that I have. Of course, I got some downstairs, but those are the ones that are up top with me. So when we pull up to the school, let's just say it's me and my mate casting, passing to customers. I'll say, hey, Zay, you're going to hit the left side of the school. I'm going to hit the right side of the school, because we're talking anywhere from 20 to I've seen them up to like 300 fish in these packs. So I'll say, you take the left, I'll take the right. You pretty much go on the edge of the school. Mm-hmm. You cast the live baits. You hook 2 of those. All right. When you hook 2 of those, you pass those downstairs. And that doesn't mean get out of the tower and get ready to net. Right. What you do at the point is I usually will put the boat in slight reverse and have the fish kind of scope up off the side. And normally these pods will stay together as long as you don't like shift too much or the fish goes crazy and jumps out of the water. So a lot of times I'll tell my customers, hey guys, don't pull right now too hard. Just kind of be gentle with them. Let them just kind of swim off the side of the boat. We're going to try to pull them to the surface.
Yeah.
Because get one of their fish up to the surface, as long as he doesn't jump or go crazy or you shift the boat too much, 10, 15 cobias will swim with that one that you have hooked. And then you have another opportunity to hook another one off their backs. And that's where the game becomes accurate, is plucking the other cobias off of their back, without tangling the line and all that. Yeah. So most importantly is I tell my customers, don't pull like crazy right now and freak that fish out. Just kind of hold him there, because when they start yanking and pulling up real hard and cranking, that fish starts diving and changing directions, all that. We want them just to slowly cruise off the side, throw another live bait in there, hook a third one up, pass that downstairs, and then, so on and so forth. You can go from there. And I always do keep a jig, even though I swear cobias don't eat jigs like they used to anymore. I always do keep a jig for really long shots, because a lot of times you'll hook 2 or 3 out of that pod and you'll still see the pod, 100, 150 feet away or so. And the only thing you're going to reach them with is a jig. So at that, let's say we got 3 on, I'm looking at the group of fish over there, then I'll throw the jig really far and try to hook a 4th out of that, because you can't do that with the live bait. And that's how you hook the multiples up. But yeah, always be gentle with the fish when you initially hook them out of the pods, because if you start yanking and doing all this crazy stuff with the boat, you can spook them. But if you're nice and gentle, a lot of times they'll school up with each other with the fish you have hooked, and you can get multiples out of that.
Right. They don't see anything erratic happening. They just think, why is Bob swimming in that direction? Whatever. Well, we'll keep swimming with Bob. But if Bob starts going, left, right, up, down, they're like, whoa, Bob's on drugs. We're going to stay away from Bob.
Yep. Just don't yank too hard, because them cobias, it's crazy. It's like if you're gentle with them, they're honestly kind of gentle with you. It's when you really start horsing them, they start jumping and going crazy, and then they're like, oh, Bob's freaking going psycho, I'm out of here.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. I was sharing with you that the other day we caught 2 out of a pod, myself and we through the second line. I had a 30-pound line on because of something I was trying out, and so I hooked this fish. And so out of respect for the 30-pound line, I'm like, I'm going to be really careful and gentle. And you're right. It was like there was no erratic nature to that fish the entire fight, because I just really gently, for like a 20-minute fight, just got a little bit at a time, and the fish just kind of kept swimming against the current, but never did any dives, never did any jumps, and then eventually just kind of swam right into the net real calm.
Yeah, they definitely they don't like getting yanked too hard.
Yeah,
especially the high sticks and the hard pulls. They don't like that. But if they'll fight, they'll chill out the whole time. So
that's cool. It's definitely a dance, playing them all the way out to the net, which does kind of conclude in a easier net job when the fish is kind of calm and just, following your lead, so to speak.
Yep. They still suck around the net, but yeah. At least they'll get close enough to net, then they give you the middle finger and shoot off. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've got like one of those Omega size nets that, you can put like, 4 human beings inside of. So I don't know how hard it really is with that size net.
It sucks with the drag in the water. It gets a little frustrating, but I'm going to tell you what, I've had that net for probably 8 years, and it's never broke. It's never lost me a fish. Yeah, it sucks, but guess what? When they're in there, they're in there.
Yeah.
Like, oh, is he going to bust through the net or break the handle? Whatever, he's in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those listening that are curious about netting, if you go back and search Austin Hain on the podcast, you'll find the last episode that he was on. We did a deep dive on netting, so that's some really good information there as well too. So let's dive into what happened yesterday. So to set the stage, we got the opportunity to fish on the click-through, which is the Fathom offshore team fishing boat with the owner Keith English and Captain Matt Maldwin and mate Adam Dye. Just set the stage. What was the weather? What was the weather forecast yesterday? This was September 3rd.
I've never, ever even thought to fish for cobias and something like that, let alone on a boat. It was to the point where you're like, dude, we're going on this freaking like 68 footer. We'll be fine. I'm like, Luke, are you sure we're not going to die? I'm like, if Luke's going, I'll get him. I mean, whatever. Like we die, right? But I'm like, there's no way any boat. And I'm going to tell you what, there was only an aircraft carrier and a container ship out there. It kind of eased my mind. It was so rough. I wanted to see if fish existed when it was that rough. I've never in my life seen the bay like that. Those are days you sleep, work on your boat, whatever you got to do. But it was pretty wild. And that boat did handle it, but it was wild out there. At least we had the sunlight, but it was so rough.
Yeah, normally when we try to fish on that boat, it's a 68-foot Wanchese. And if you go back to last week's episode and listen to Captain Matt Maldwin giving an offshore report, he'll tell you about the boat. I'm sitting here thinking like we're not even probably going to feel it that much. And when we're coming out of Rudy Inlet, I felt that thing pitch up like 8-9 feet in the air and then slam back down. And I was like, oh God, this is real stuff. And then we get going trying to go around the Cape and we see that aircraft carrier. And I'm like, are we making a bad choice? And then we finally found some, like, I guess we'll call it less crappy water on the bay side of the bridge. But it was still, 4-foot waves at like a 4.5-second interval, which, was pretty much nonstop torture. But anyways, let's dive into like how we fished. Like, talk us through how we fished that boat.
Normally, I guess they have the guys on the bow to cast, which was the biggest challenge of the day because this boat's already a 70-foot boat. So not only did we have the variable of not being able to get close to the fish, we were trying to throw live baits at these fish from the back of the boat. And the captain up top is trying to get the fish to swim off the back of the boat so we could hit them. And then you got a 30+ mile-an-hour wind. It was brutal. We got not skunked.
For sure.
And I don't know how we did, but it was that was tough stuff. That was the worst conditions you could ever imagine. But the crazy thing is they were still up.
They were.
You got to go. Don't do it. But
don't do it. Definitely don't do it. Like, unless you're on a 70-foot boat, don't do it. But they do exist.
Yeah, that's what I should say. They exist when it's that rough. I've always wondered if they are surfing the waves when it's like that. And they were there. It was just super, super difficult to cast. Throw as hard as you want, even with a buck test, hard as you want, and that lure will come right back to you.
That was wild to see. Watching a jig get changed 10 to 15 yards off course by wind, and not because of the lure itself being blown, but your line. And I throw 50-pound braid. I think you throw 40. And literally watching the wind move a jig. I mean, that was something to contend with. I think at one point I threw a live bait and it came back and hit me in the face. But it was silly. I got to say, shout out to Captain Matt, because the way he worked that boat around small targets, meaning like a small pot of fish or a triple pack on a turtle, it was, he did an amazing job, at least giving us a shot where, anybody else, I don't think it would have been anywhere close. I mean, it was really cool to watch him work that thing around. And I think we said is it 1,650 horsepower per motor, something ridiculous.
My favorite one of the day was, remember when we first got there and so we're getting our baits on, and they're like, oh, we're in them big time. There's a triple. He's like, oh, there's a triple pack off the side here. And so I throw my live bait in there, and you remember the bait, the most beautiful textbook cast.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, I got this. 30-mile-an-hour wind. I got this. And it was so windy. The wind was blowing my line, so the bait never could dive down. It was scooting on the surface, like skipping, and I could not do anything to get the bait to drop. I'm like pulling out line, putting the rod tip in the water, and the bait's just gliding from the wind bow because it was so much wind, and the fish was chasing it and never could catch it because the wind was blowing my line and my bait so bad.
I remember that. I was like, I watched your bait hit the water. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're going to look down and think that these guys know how to fish. And then all of a sudden the fish is just like, where's this bait going? Why is the bait water skiing away from me? And it was nothing you could do about it. And then meanwhile, I'm sitting over there and I'm like, of course, I'm trying to put an eel on, and I get a hook in the bait net, and I'm all goofed up with this eel ball, and I'm like, well, it's cool. Austin's put a bait right on its head. We're gonna catch this fish, and then and then you just hear the captain in the headset like, what's going on down there, baby? Why didn't we catch that fish? And we're like, it must not have been hungry, sir.
Don't need to be started. It's so windy. That was the best start to a day I've ever seen. An eel ball, eel in the net, or hook in the net, and then the line, the wind's so strong the bait cannot even swim, literally gliding on the surface. It was an experience. Let's just say that.
It was. And then fast forward, and I'm gonna let you tell a story because it's embarrassing for me, but I'm sure you'll color it with some humor. So we finally catch a killfish, and I go, hey guys, do we have a bat?
Yeah, that was bad. That was bad. So this super nice boat, right? I mean, super, super nice boat. I mean, not a drop of blood, nothing. This boat is spotless. And Luke's like, oh man, let me get that bat. And he's trying to make this Instagram video with the Fathom bat and all that. Aluminum bat to take him out. And in front of everybody watching him, because we're all stoked because we magically caught a killfish in these conditions. He pulls the bat up, goes to swing. I don't know if your hand slipped or the fish moved or whatever, but I got it all on video. Don't worry about that. Smacks this teak so hard. Completely didn't even hit the fish, just right onto this teak on this beautiful spotless boat. And the mate just like, I know the mate cringed. He was immediately on it, like trying to polish it up and all that. It was.
Oh, he was immediately on his hands and knees inspecting for damage. And I'm like, I just turned around and I was like, now I lay my head to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. I was ready to, be thrown overboard by some miracle. So you said aluminum bat. I think this was the miracle. It was actually a custom made wooden bat. And I think that the miracle of it is that teak is such a hard live wood, and that whatever that bat was made out of was a inferior density. And so I think that's why it just bounced off the teak and didn't cause any damage, which, thank God. I'm sure they thought that through when they built that bat. They're like, some idiot fisherman's going to come on here and try to bat a cobia and hit our deck. Let's make sure it's a softer wood than the deck.
100%. That gave me the cringe. I was laughing. I was dying laughing. But man, I was like, I could see it in Adam's face. I was like, oh God. No damage was done, so we're good.
No, and it was definitely an amazing experience, running that boat and just watching them up in the tower pitch and roll, these 20, 30 degree pitches, and they're just up there cool as a cucumber on the headsets. That was a neat experience too, just the whole communication through the headsets. Catching those fish would have certainly not been possible, because they're saying, all right, 11 o'clock, 40 yards. And then we're able to look up and see them pointing here and then get that instruction and be ready to, try to execute a cast when we did get close to those fish.
Yeah. And you also didn't add in the part where they were in a 55-foot tower still getting sea spray that day. So that's the craziest part of the day. If you're getting wet on that tower, there's no business being out there on any other boat.
No. When they came downstairs out of the tower, I was like, why is he wearing full rain gear? And he's like, oh yeah, we're getting sprayed up there. I'm like, oh my God.
55 feet in the sky. So
yeah.
Amazing. Those fish are still up in that. And the water, talk about back to water temperature, it only was we were in 75 yesterday.
75, yeah.
It's not the end of the world. So
but it was 70. It was 70 off the ocean front. It wasn't until we got onto the bay side of the Fourth Island Bridge that it was in fact 75 degrees. So I think there was a little kicker there too. And we didn't see anything oceanside.
Yeah. So all these fish will probably be congregating that, the bay coming up next week when we actually fish again. But it was interesting, 75 with all this cold weather and wind. That's not terrible. It was nice to go out there and, know that not all hope is lost with this weather. So, and we saw the fish. I mean, we could have easily, if it was a fishable day and we were on the bow, that would have been a 15, 20 fish afternoon, no doubt. No doubt in the afternoon. I mean, we didn't leave till what? I think we left the dock at 12:30 and got there by like 1:30 and saw those fish. So, I mean, it's still excellent fishing out there. It's just, when's the wind going to let up for us to go out there and see what it's all about? So,
yeah. Well, again, shout out to, Fathom Offshore, Captain Matt, Keith English, click through. That was just an incredible experience. Hopefully we'll get to do it again before these fish swim out of the bay. But changing gears, looking to the future, folks want to get up with you and book a trip. What can they expect? We've got a couple cobia days left here for the month of September, maybe early October for some catch and release stuff. But October, November, folks want to get up with Fineo and book a trip. What can they anticipate booking a trip with you for?
So we'll do catch or release. We're booked up till the end of the season, September 15th. But I usually do catch or release cobias. I just don't book them until I confirm that they're there. I don't want to say, hey guys, let's go catch cobias, and then we get more nor'easters or something like that.
Yeah.
But I do catch release till usually about the first week of October. One of my best days ever was October 7th.
Oh, wow.
2018. It's crazy. If you get good winds at the end of September, it can be some of the best fishing ever. You get big pods up and all that. So I'll definitely be doing catch and release until they're not there anymore. And I'll always tell my people that, hey, it's just not worth, or they're stacked, whatever the case. After that, we switch gears. We do speckled trout fishing in the morning. Usually I come out at sunrise, bang up the speckled trout, and we shoot out to the islands, and we go catch the big reds. We'll start burning them up October to usually November. Terrible. I mean, those big reds, they're a good time. And you can catch a lot of those, which is fun. Then after that, if these stripers do show up, which this year, it's been bad in the past few years, but we're going to see what it's all about, because this year's been the best I've seen for a lot of other fish. There's bait everywhere. So there's no reason the stripers shouldn't be here. So we'll definitely be targeting the stripers, November. And then the bluefin tunas, they show up in December, going to be hitting those heavy. Was epic last year. And if we get half of what it was last year, I'll be running trips on that very, very, very heavy. So
count me in for that. Catching a 300-pound bluefin tuna off of a 24-foot boat right outside the mouth of the bay. Let's go.
We're pulling him right. I got them low gunnels. He's coming right on the bow, though. No big deal.
That's awesome. Well, Captain Austin, thank you so much for that report and some storytelling of that adventure yesterday. It was an absolute blast doing that alongside of you. And remind folks, if they want to get up with you and book a trip, what's going to be the best way for them to contact you?
So the best way to get a hold of me is obviously you can give me a call. My phone number is 757-530-4009, or you can check out our Instagram. That's Fineo Sport Fishing. That's it. Just Fineo Sport Fishing Instagram. That's usually the best ways to get a hold of me. You can check out our stories on there. You can shoot me a message. But yeah, phone call, Instagram, Facebook, it's all there. All my information's all over Instagram, Facebook as well. So that's the best ways to get a hold of me if you want to get up and go out there and do these catch release cobias or redfish, trout, bluefin, striper, whatever it is out there. We'll catch them up.
All right. Well, Captain Hain, thanks so much for that report. Y'all stick around. Let's hear a word from this week's sponsor. We'll be right back. It's time we talked about catching some serious savings. Imagine harnessing the power of the sun to cut your energy bills and having a roof that's built to last. Convert Solar and Roofing specializes in top-notch solar installations and durable roofing solutions that stand up to the toughest elements. Their solar panels are designed to maximize efficiency, and their roofs are built with premium materials to ensure long-lasting protection. Whether you're out on the water or at home, their expert team ensures you're covered. As fellow anglers in the Lower Chesapeake Bay, the team at Convert Solar and Roofing cares about both sustainable living and sustainable fishing. So reel in those savings today and visit www.convert-solar.com or call 757-44-SOLAR. Make your energy and roof as reliable as your favorite fishing lure. Call Convert Solar and Roofing today. All right, guys. Well, welcome to this kind of unique and new segment. We're going to talk boating today. I'm actually on the water right now. Where are we right now? This is Captain Andy Sutter.
Hey, everybody. Captain Andy Sutter, retired Navy Senior Chief. Luke, thanks for having me on, man. Did 26 years in the Navy, and we are in the Elizabeth River right off of Fort Norfolk on a kick-ass pontoon boat.
Yeah, man. It's about as cool as it gets right now. Here it is, the end of August. We got this whole place to ourselves. And
the American flag is blowing?
Yeah, that's a good sign of a patriot like yourself who's turned an idea into a passion, into a business. And so tell me, Freedom Boat Club, why does Freedom Boat Club exist, and what is it that you guys do?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to become a business owner, and it came up to buy the Freedom Boat Club franchise location here in Hampton Roads. I spent 26 years in the Navy, joined in 1988, retired in 2014. Had the ability to buy the business, and so we went in, we bought a franchise. In 2018, Freedom Boat Club is the world's oldest and largest boat club, and what we do is we bridge the gap from renting a boat into ownership. That's what we do.
Okay, so that effectively is a boat club. Instead of owning a boat or renting a boat, you just kind of boat as a service.
You join the club, and what we've found out over the years, Brunswick, where our parent company is the Brunswick Corporation, 1 in 5 people that become a Freedom Boat Club member go on to buy their own boat.
Okay, so it's like a ramping up period get familiar and learn how to use the boat. You know, when looking at the different options out there as a consumer, someone that might be looking at joining a boat club, what are some of the important factors that I should be considering when looking at my options?
The selection of boats is massive, right? You grew up on the water here in Hampton, right? So your family had a bunch of boats you can get on and go out, and you got friends that owns boats, right? There's a lot of people that don't have that. They don't have this access. They're military. They're from the Midwest, right? They don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, you get access to the water here in Hampton Roads. Great boating here. You have unlimited free training. I can't stress the unlimited free training enough on that, right?
Yeah.
I was telling you before we jumped on the boat, we have one gentleman that took 17 hours of on-the-water training. So I have a 200-ton U.S. Coast Guard captain's license. The guys that work for me have 50, 100-ton six-packs. We don't sign you off unless you're safe on the water, that you can operate the boat independently of us.
Right.
And if you still don't know how to dock, we're going to jump on the boat and teach you how to dock, right? One of the biggest things that, you know, like this guy coming down blowing through the no-wake zone, he probably needs a Freedom Boat Club membership, right?
Yeah.
Let's see if he slows down when he hits the no-wake zone. But, yeah, so that's, you know, and then you get reciprocity throughout the world.
Mm-hmm.
You join a Freedom Boat Club location, you can use all 420 locations in the world. There are
huge.
In Spain, Portugal. We opened in Scotland last year. They're open in Indonesia is going to be like the next territory.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go all over the world and use a Freedom Boat Club location.
That's pretty cool, you know, to think about, you know, if you're an individual or a family that's planning a vacation, you know, somewhere.
He did slow down.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
He's still plowing.
He is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's about a 60-foot
Everybody's
yacht.
listening to the podcast. Go, what the hell they're talking about? There's a 75-foot, I don't even know what it is, Broward blowing through the no-wake zone. Yeah, he didn't slow down enough.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, you're planning a vacation, and you're an angler, or you're a pleasure boater, or you love to explore places by water. This can now be incorporated as part of your vacation choice. If you're a club member, you're looking somewhere that has a club location so that you can incorporate that as a part of your vacation.
That's exactly right. We have a lot of members that will join Freedom Boat Club here in Hampton Roads that will be traveling to Florida. There's 101 Freedom Boat Club locations in Florida. You can use your reciprocity down there, which is great.
So let's dive into that a little bit. So the reciprocity, how exactly does that work? Is it the same benefits as I get here at Freedom Boat Club in Hampton Roads?
You get unlimited usage at your home club. Watch this big wake. Let me turn into this a little bit.
That's a 100-ton, 200-ton captain foresight at work right there.
Yeah, right. You see the little bit of water splashed up on the bow there. Yeah, we're in a pontoon boat, everybody. So we're kind of glorious. We're watching the Navy YPs do unreps. Look, see.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Look, see? So they got ball diamond ball out, restricting their ability to maneuver, see?
Oh, wow, that's
good
very
shit
cool.
right there.
And some Spanish mackerel were just jumping a second ago.
America. I wouldn't know anything about that. If you can put it in a taco, then we're good.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
So the reciprocity. So you get unlimited here in Hampton Roads.
Right. So unlimited usage at your home club from 8:30 in the morning till 30 minutes before sunset. So you get 4 reservations on the Freedom Plan. You can use them however you want, 2 of which for the weekend. As long as the boat is available, we don't restrict your usage. We restrict your availability to the reservation system. So it's unlimited usage at your home club.
Got it.
You can use every single Freedom Boat Club in the world 4 times each year, each calendar year. 104 locations in Florida. You can use each location 4 times each.
Okay.
Now, if you're on vacation, don't go down there on a Saturday and think, I'm going to go out and make a last-minute reservation because they have to service their clientele first.
Right.
If you're on vacation, go out Monday through Friday. Right?
Got it.
And so you'll get. I've used it myself. I've been to Charleston. I've been to Lake Wylie. I've been to Lake Jordan Lake down in Charlotte. It's great. It's great.
Cool.
It's a great benefit to have. Yeah.
And talk me through that experience. So, like, you go to one of those places, and Charleston, for example, you go without a Freedom Boat Club membership versus going with one. What did you do with the membership while you're down there? Talk me through some of the places you're able to go by water that just totally enhance that experience.
Fort Sumter. You get the opportunity to go right up to Fort Sumter on your own boat. And then we went up the Charleston River where the old naval base was. Mm-hmm. We went all the way up through there. There's like a gypsum plant, and we went through like some of the Everglades. We went through at high tide so I could do some stuff. And we did a couple of tugboat turns, pushed the bow up on the the reeds there and turned around and came back, and we spent the whole damn day on the water. It was great. And then when I was done, I literally tipped the dock staff. I was like, do you want me to turn the battery switch off or clean the boat? They're like, no, go ahead and get it. And I was like, I texted my wife. I was like, this is what it's like not to own your, be a member in your club. It was great.
Oh, that's cool. So speaking of that, talk me through the experience. So 8:30 in the morning till 30 minutes before sunset.
Yep.
I'm a member. And I show up, I park, I got my family in tow. Like, talk me through exactly what happens between parking and then being actually on the water.
So when you join, you go through a 4-hour class on how to operate the boat. So everything is already on here. So your life vests, you're sitting on that orange box. It's got all your emergencies in there. It's going to have your bumpers. Everything is on here. The only thing that you need to bring is a great attitude and have a good day, right?
Yeah.
Go out. If you bring a cooler, you can dock staff in there. Today was Mina. You can say, hey, Mina, I got a computer out there. Electric computer. Cooler with, the goodies and whatnot, and she'll come down, load it on. You'll do a checkout. So you'll check it out just like a rental car. You'll do your checkout, fuel, and your mileage, and then you'll take it out, and you come back. She'll check it in. You pay for your fuel, go home. So we got a lot of people who take this boat, and they'll run right up the Western Branch. You bring your tube, everything for the day. You get on the boat. It's already cleaned, ready to go. You hook your bridle up or right from the tow tube, right from the bar there, and you'll just tow your kids all day. You'll have the boat all day.
That's amazing.
For $330 a month.
That's amazing. How can you beat that?
It's a $65,000 tri-tune, right? $330 a month. Now, what's the offset of that, right? You can't keep it out at night. You've been on Hampton roads at night. You see all the ships out here. You don't want to operate a boat at night here, right?
No.
So that's an offset. And then it is a shared asset model. So, again, if you are going to get up, like today is Thursday. I looked this morning. We still had Sunday availability. Okay. If you're going to wait until you're going to get to the weekend to try to take the boat out, we can't. That's an unrealistic expectation. So our busiest time of year is June, July. We ask that you book 5 to 7 days in advance for the boat, and you'll go boating.
That's about as easy as it gets. And then for the fuel, coming back in, do you guys fuel them up and you just pay the fuel tab, or are we responsible to go fuel up ourselves?
You take it back to the same slip that you picked it up from, and then we do charge you a $5 surcharge, and then we take it around the corner there to fuel it, and that's it.
We go on my account, whatever the fuel bill was.
Yep. So you'll check the fuel out, and we'll whatever they charge us, like $4.50 a gallon now, and if you go out and you did 10 gallons of fuel, it's $42.80 and then $5. So $47.80 just to go out for the whole day.
Yeah, just that, like I'm an avid boater, and just the headache alone of having to pull up to a fuel dock and do the whole process and run the credit card in and then dodge the other boaters and the wakes coming by to just completely eliminate the time you get back, especially if you
hassle-free boating, baby.
Amen to that.
Also, it was a hassle-free boating was one slogan. Now it's boating made simple. Now it's more awaits.
Ooh,
more
I like
awaits.
that.
Sexy, huh?
I like that.
Yeah.
That's very sexy.
I'm on the marketing committee for Freedom Boat Club.
I love it.
I didn't come up with that. I was like, let's keep boating made simple, and now it's more awaits. But I like the slogan now.
Yeah. So I want to dive into two other topics. Price and then types of boats. So price-wise. So I'm brand new. I'm not a member yet. What's it going to cost me out of pocket to get started, and then what's that monthly going to be?
Yeah, so $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000 to join for your initiation fee. And people say, I'd be a boat club member if you didn't charge the initiation fee. Like, great, go buy your own boat.
Right.
All right, because a new $65,000 pontoon boat, you're going to pay 10% to join, $6,500 to get it. So you can join $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000, and then it's $330 a month or $415 a month.
Okay.
Those are typically the plans. It's a weekday plan is $330 a month, Monday through Friday. We have a freedom plan, which is the international reciprocity. Then we have a local plan, which is very, very popular since we've introduced it from the pandemic. That one you join is $4,000 to join.
Okay.
You get 2 rolling reservations. So a half of a Saturday or half of a Sunday. You use the reservation, you immediately get it back. So it's like, remember Netflix when they used to mail you your same deal. So you put your reservation in, it holds your slot. Once you use it, you immediately get that reservation, and then you can rebook.
Okay.
Now, even if the reservation is in the system today, you see all those boats that were sitting there? You want to play hooky from work like this.
Right.
You call the local location before 1 o'clock, and you say, hey, Mina, what boats do you have available? You saw that fishing boat, that cobia?
Yep.
It's available.
Okay.
You can take it out. You can go out and hit any of these fish out here, those Spanish mackerel you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You take it out. Even if you have your reservations in the system, it doesn't matter. It just reserves it for that day, but the boat's available.
Right.
So you can go and get on it right now and take it out for 3 or 4 hours and come back and drop it off. So that's the local plan.
Okay.
No reciprocity.
Got it.
All right, so 2 reservations for that. Freedom Plan, 4 reservations. You can use them however you want. 2 reservations for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to put the reservations in for all of a Saturday, it's 2, or half of a Saturday and half of a Sunday. Mm-hmm. You can even keep the boat overnight. So we have a doctor that lives right up here in the Western Branch.
Yeah.
He comes, he checks the boat out, he picks it up on Wednesday, he keeps it Wednesday at his house, Thursday at his house, Friday at his house, and then drops it off Saturday morning.
Oh, that's
so his
cool.
grandkids come over and he tubes them around the Western Branch.
Yeah.
He pays $415 a month.
Okay.
For that plan.
So 3,000, 4,000, 5,000.
Yep.
And then there's the 2 different plans.
Yep.
$330 or $415 a month. Talk me through the difference between the 3,000, 4,000, and 5,000. What's the difference there?
The weekday plan is $3,000. So $3,000 a joint. What's included in that is all your unlimited training.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go on our insurance.
Okay.
You get $1 million of insurance. So that's where people say, I'm not gonna, it's too expensive to join. I have to buy brand new boats every 36 months.
Okay.
You'll never ever see an older. You saw all those new boats?
Yeah.
They're all new, and that's where that money's going.
Got it.
We have to pay commission.
Yeah.
We have to run a business, right? And the boats are not cheap.
Right.
And my insurance for 21 boats is $15,000 a month, or $15,000 a quarter. Pardon me. So that's where that initial money goes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just pay your monthlies. And the biggest benefit of Freedom Boat Club is there's no long-term commitment.
Got it.
It's literally a 60-day written notice to cancel. That's it.
Okay.
Gives me the opportunity to sell you a boat. You're like, I'm done with boating. I'm like, well, you want to take one with you out the door?
Yeah.
Like,
you spent a lot of time on this one in particular.
Yeah, why don't you take this one with you so I can buy a new one?
That's cool. So that's the 3,000, and then the 4,000, and what's the difference between the 4,000 and the 5,000?
The 4,000 is the local plan, and then the 5,000 is the Freedom Plan.
Okay, got it.
And now, right now, we are running a special. So if you're listening to the podcast, we are going to run a special where you can join. You pay that fee, but you're getting. We're offering Freedom's offering a coupon because we're a franchise, and it's 5 months no dues.
Oh wow.
So you could, it's 93 degrees out, right?
Yeah.
So come out and enjoy the club for the rest of August, September, and October. Great boating still, right? In November, and then it gets colder. But you pay no dues until February 1st now.
Okay, that's a really good deal.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Are there any, and this might sound like a weird question, but, considering the options out there, whether it's rental or purchase, are there any negatives to a boat club?
Yes. If you are going to get up Saturday morning in June or July and think that you're going to go boating without reserving the boat ahead of time, that's a negative.
Okay.
Yep, that is absolutely a negative. If you want the hassle of doing maintenance on your boat, cleaning it when you return, trailering it, and doing all that stuff, if you're a hands-on guy, don't join a boat club.
Got it.
I'll tell you right now.
And I can tell you from personal experience, there are many times that I'll say, hey, honey, do you want to go do X, Y, or Z? And it's like, man, if we didn't have to sit at the dock for an hour after we get back, yeah, I would.
Yeah, if you're a hands-on guy, you want to launch your boat, you're a tinkerer, you want to, do that. I get it.
Yeah.
We're not a good fit for you. But Freedom Boat Club in general reaches 80% of the boating public. Right, we're a recreational boat club.
Yeah.
And listen, we're also selling boats.
Yeah.
I have 5 fishing boats right now, so this is a fishing podcast.
Yeah.
If you want to buy a fishing boat, we have 3 sailfish, a dual console, I think it's 23-foot, 2 22-footers, and a 23-foot center console. We got a trophy. I think we got 5 fishing boats for sale. give us a call.
Yeah, what's that number?
Oh, it's a 757-302-8111. 757-302-8111. You can even text that number.
Okay.
Just text the word boat sale, BOATSALE, or SAIL. I don't give a shit. Oh, can we curse on the podcast?
I think so.
Okay, sorry. I'm a retired senior chief, so
that's probably a very mild one.
Things fall out of my mouth that all the guys, all the professional fishermen are. They go, yeah, man, we swear all the time.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you've ever been on a fishing boat and a boat fish comes off boat side, or you pull the hook, you're bound to hear a few special words.
Words.
But yeah, by all means, contact Andy. Mention that you heard him on the podcast if you're interested in purchasing one of those boats. So speaking of that, so you got all these different boats to choose from. You've talked through some of the positives, some of the negatives. I'm definitely hearing more positives than negatives. If somebody is ready to take that next step and start, looking at the membership and getting signed up, what's going to be that first step that they should take to get that going?
They want to get a slide cast. In our slide cast, if they can just text podcast, just text the word PODCAST to the 757-302-8111 number. They'll send you a slide cast. It's information. It's a PowerPoint presentation, self-guided, with all of the information about Freedom Boat Club.
Perfect.
Including how the insurance works, how the boat club works. There's a welcome video. It's got my pretty face on there and my annoying-ass voice, welcoming you to the club. We are service-disabled, veteran-owned small business, so love to have the support. But, yeah, check that stuff out, and they'll send you that information. And that's kind of like the jumping-off spot.
Perfect.
And then we do personal tours. We do this stuff, right? People are like, I want to check it out.
Yeah.
And then I think probably the last, to answer your question, to go back a little bit, is the variety of boats that we have.
Yeah.
I mean, we have 22 boats. The two sailfish we named Chicken and Waffles. You saw the two pontoon boats next to each other, right? We got that slide tune. That's ours too. The one where the kids can slide off and go into the water.
Yeah.
That thing stays booked out. That's always up in the Western Branch. Or the sandbar. The modern Merrimack sandbar.
Oh yeah.
Gary runs that page there.
Yeah.
There's a crap ton of people that go over there, and it's funny, right? Because we GPS track all the boats.
Yeah.
And so my wife will go through a show. Oh, that's our boat. Oh, that's our boat.
Yeah.
That's our boat.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So yeah, it's great.
The slide one in particular, we'll drop a picture of that when we post some photos.
Yeah.
But it's a double decker boat that they can climb up top and then slide down. So I mean, if you've got, like you said, grandkids coming to town or young kids, and you want to do a staycation or show them a great way to enjoy the Chesapeake area, the Elizabeth River, that's going to be a really cool way to do it.
It is a membership-based club. So if you're looking to rent a boat, we cannot rent the boat out individually because of the liability.
Right.
Our insurance is Chubb. It's serviced by Brown & Brown, and you have to go through you have to have your boater safety card, and you have to go through our training prior to going out. So, again, rental, great. Go see those guys down in Virginia Beach. Charter a boat. If you are looking to maybe purchase a boat, we tell everybody, join the boat club for 1 or 2 years. I'm always selling these boats.
Yeah.
I sold we had a 27-foot Regal cabin cruiser to one of our members. He's a doctor at the Naval Hospital. He goes, hey, I said, yeah, it's for sale. He goes, you're selling that boat? I said, yeah. He says, it's my favorite boat. And I was like,
it's yours now.
It's yours now. And he just bought it. And
That's
we
awesome.
moved it over to decoys, and I was teaching him last week on how to dock it.
Yep. Well, two things that come to mind about purchasing a boat, buying a rental car, buying a boat that's been used in a boat club, you get the assurance that regular cleaning is a big deal with a boat. And I noticed that when I walked up here, all the boats had every little door, everything was open. It was airing out. There's no mildew growing. You're getting regular maintenance, regular cleaning. And that's a big deal for a boat that you're purchasing that's only 3 years old. Is you're basically getting a brand new boat that's been properly cared for. So that's a big deal.
Yep.
And then, two, just the value. I myself as a boat owner, when it comes to like the insurance, the maintenance, and the one that I will stress is time. You have to be ready to spend a lot of time to be a boat owner. So if you have limited time and you don't want to be paying for all those other things, this is definitely going to be the right choice for you. Cat Mandy, as we wrap up, any final thoughts? The folks listening that are like, hey, I think a boat club might be the ticket for me. You got these amenities there with, it look like some restrooms and place for people to get, changed and all that sort of thing. What's going to be the final thoughts for folks that might be on the precipice of diving in?
We have 3 local locations here in Hampton Roads. Mention the podcast. We'll get you another discount to join. Check it out. I mean, just go online and read our reviews. I tell people come down and they see me at an open house, and I'm like, well, what if I don't like it? And I'm like, you're going to like it, right? I don't run a shitty business.
Yeah.
I tell everybody I work a lot of hours, and we have a great staff. We keep the boats meticulous, and it's a retired Navy senior chief, man. I ain't messing around here.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, just go and check it out. And if you have any questions, you want to check it out, the best thing to do is just text in podcast. Put that word in there, get you an extra discount, get the slide cast, and then just reach out to us, and
Perfect.
we'll take them out for. I don't do fishing though. I'm not a fisherman.
That's okay.
I'll take them on the slide boat. If they don't join, I'll just push them down the slide into the water.
And then one final question for you.
Yeah.
If we want to find you on the social media, you were showing me some cool content that you guys are creating. Where do we find you on social media?
Freedom Boat Club Hampton Roads on Facebook.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's super easy. We have an Instagram page. I think it's Freedom Boat Club Hampton Roads. I don't do social media. I do this.
Yep. Drive the boat safely.
My wife does the books, and I was out one day and I was training somebody. I had my legs up on the gunnel. I'm sitting like that, and she comes out and she goes, "Tough day at work." I was like, somebody's got to keep up with this nice tan.
That's awesome. Captain Andy, thank you so much for taking us out here on the water and
that was
sharing
good.
about Freedom Boat Club with us. Y'all stick around for a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with you here soon. Did you know every 40 seconds, someone has a heart attack or stroke? In that moment, every second counts and every critical decision matters. Air Medcare Network's air ambulance providers can provide life-saving care directly to those in need at a moment's notice. With 320 locations across 38 states, they're the largest air ambulance membership network. Rest assured, they've got you and your entire household covered. Membership is just $99 a year or just $79 for seniors. Visit gdo.deals/airmedcare to enroll. All right, guys. Well, welcome to the What Did You Learn segment. This week, it was great to talk to Captain Russ. We talked to him 2 weeks ago, and he had mentioned that he felt like things were going to heat up with the billfish bite, and sure enough, they did. We talked a little bit about the prospect of a offshore slam, which would be a white marlin, a blue marlin, and a sailfish. So to think that he almost accomplished that with 2 12-year-olds and their grandparents, or grandfather and their mom was truly special. I mean, those kids have got to just be ecstatic to look back on that day and realize what a great adventure they had with Captain Russ, to have that chance to catch those 3 in the same day. I think, personally, if I'm out there and even, connect with one billfish, it's kind of like a little bit of a, luck of the draw, so to speak, to even connect with one. So the thought of getting 3 in the same day just not only shows the expertise of Captain Russ, but also just the beauty of how you can target some good water, use your Hilton's real-time navigator, look at these different things, compare your data points, like he's talked about before, like we talked about with Captain Matt Maldwin, and, kind of build that poker hand, so to speak. What's going to be your high card? Maybe it's some structure or a specific area where you've gotten a report of, a lot of bait. And then you connect that with, some good water that you see a nice transition or something along those lines, and then maybe some temperature. And you put those things together, you get located, like Captain Matt says, and then like Captain Russ was talking about, you talk and communicate with your fellow folks, and you get in the area and you be patient, and then boom, you're able to be successful. Switching gears to the conversation with Captain Austin, just reminded of that preparation is key. He mentioned having those 3 live bait rods, as well as a jig rod, as well as other rods rigged downstairs ready to go to be able to potentially capitalize on that. And then something he was saying about, when you do see a pod of fish, the way that he communicates with his mate to make sure that they, cast on both sides of the pod. And that might be contrary to maybe the knee-jerk reaction, which would be to throw a bait right into the middle, thinking, hey, if I hit the middle of this pod, surely some of these fish are going to see it. But it actually does the opposite and can have a effect where they all get, kind of scared and go down. So hitting the edges of a pod definitely was a great tip that I pulled away from talking with Captain Austin. And then, of course, it was fun to kind of reminisce of the the adventure that we had aboard the the click through the Fathom offshore team fishing boat, going out there in those rough seas. I remember, coming out of Rudy Inlet thinking to myself, it's going to be cool to just go through these, 5-foot waves and not even feel it. Well, boy, was I wrong. Those waves were powerful, and they tossed that boat around, and you felt that pitch and roll. And, my hat's off to Captain Matt for keeping us, on the fish, safe. And, that boat obviously could handle it, but still, it was something to feel the power of the water. There's a reason that us, an aircraft carrier, and a tanker ship were the only boats operating in the Chesapeake Bay that day. And then lastly, it was really a joy talking with Captain Andy Sutter from Freedom Boat Club. Learned so much about the, benefits, the extent of the benefits, the reciprocity. I had no idea all this was available. So if I could go back in time, to maybe, wanting to get out on the water, and maybe I couldn't afford boat ownership, or maybe I don't want the hassle of boat ownership, or just want that ability to plan vacations with family, and know that, okay, I'm going to be in Florida somewhere, or I'm going to be in Charleston or Savannah, Georgia, or on the West Coast. Just like Hampton Roads, and we've got all these cool waterways, up in Yorktown, we've got Sayers Creek with the Y Rock. We've got, up in Hampton, you've got Fort Monroe with the Dead Rise. In Little Creek, you've got Surf Rider. In Lynnhaven, you've got a litany of other restaurants, Chicks and Back Deck. So part of enjoying those areas is to do it by the water and to be on the boat. And so to know that you could include that in your vacation, anywhere you go, is a really cool attribute to being a part of the boat club. So, as you guys could tell from the conversation, Captain Andy is a ton of fun, a wealth of knowledge, and then, of course, has his incredible experience in the Navy as a senior chief to be able to, run a very, very great business that offers a very high level of customer service and reliability. So, if anyone, listening is thinking about it, at the very least, call over there, talk to Captain Andy, and go experience it for yourself. I think it would be a great addition to your portfolio of local resources, so that during the summer times and the fall, you've got some cool things to do with family and enjoy the best part of Hampton Roads, which is being on the water. There's a reason before Hampton Roads it was called Tidewaters, because we have so much tidal water in this area that our whole economy, our port, our military is all built around. So, folks, it's been another great week of reports and getting to learn some things. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to talking with you all next week. So that's going to wrap it up this week. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, to get your free AFTCO Camo Sunglasses Cleaning Cloth, just text the acronym LCBFR to 779-345-2918. to get your promo code and be added to our email list so we can send you the new show each week. You guys keep whacking them and be safe out there.